Yo, what's going on, guys? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. So, in honor of the All-Star game being in a couple of hours, I wanted to talk about what, in my opinion, is by far the most slept-on All-Star, not only this year, but in recent memory, and that's going to be the injury reserve replacement, Anthony Edwards, the former number one pick overall. Real quick, I just want to get into the NBA and their lack of marketing for their stars real quick. I feel as though in the NFL or even the UFC, when there's a small market player who is elite and is a great talent and is a great contribution to the game, and they have a very big, great personality, I feel like no matter what team they're on, they're marketed. You look at a guy like Justin Jefferson, he's so heavily marketed, and he's in a small venue like Minnesota. Who else is in a small venue like Minnesota? It's Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a guy who not only is an elite talent, but he's a great personality. This kid, you give him a mic, he's hilarious. He's phenomenal in every single interview, every single post-game interview. He's so funny. He's been great in this All-Star weekend so far. In some of the interviews, he did some interviews regarding the trade deadline, and he had some really good sound bites. Come on, NBA. Start promoting your stars. Why is the first pick in the NBA draft who's absolutely balling out? He's a first-time All-Star, and he gets no promotion outside of his own work. It's such a joke. The NBA needs to promote their stars better. But going into Anthony Edwards, guys, in the elite number one overall pick talent that Anthony Edwards is, real quick, I need to dismiss the notion that Anthony Edwards is not hardworking. You could say you're hardworking, and you could say you're not hardworking. You could post a bunch of workout clips on Instagram. At the end of the day, I look at your body of work. I look at from year to year, are you improving? And to me, that signifies hard work. So let me tell you the significant improvement, not only from Georgia to the NBA, but from year one to year two to year three in the NBA for Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards is still only 21 years old. He's 6'4". People talk about his physique and his frame. He has the Chick-fil-A physique. He eats too much. Guys, this is so not true. He's 225 pounds at 6'4". Visually, you look at him, he looks like a very solid, compact, powerful, cut athlete. He looks really good. His physique is solid. So you look at Georgia, he had great potential. I completely understand why he's the first pick in the draft, but I also understand why people were a little bit nervous about him. His splits were bad. His raw attributes were always there, but they weren't refined at all. So at 1 year at Georgia, again, he was a really young guy at Georgia, granted. He shot 40% from the field, 29.4% from three, which is not good, guys. That is a red flag going into the NBA, but he's so significantly improved on his three-point game. The form was always there. It's just kind of the consistency in the shot making and the shot selection, which he's really improved upon. He had 2.8 assists per game and 19.1 points a game at Georgia. Flash forward to his first year in the NBA, he improved upon all those shooting splits, and I want to really signify and talk to you guys about the shooting splits and the improvements from year one to year three. He's improved on every single statistical attribute from year one to year three in a bigger sample size. You look at a lot of NBA players, the more and more shots per game they put up, the less and less their field goal percentages and the more and more their shooting splits go down. Of course, it makes sense. A larger sample size usually dictates how good or bad your field goal percentage is. This is not the case at all with Anthony Edwards, guys. He's an outlier in that sense. So from year one to year three, his field goal percentage went from 41.7, which is below league average, to 46.4, which is above league average. So he's already an above league average efficiency shooter overall from the field on 19.4 attempts per game, which is a significant sample size. He's shooting a lot, guys, and he's doing it efficiently. His three-point percentage, which I just alluded to, it went from, again in college, 29% to 32.9% in his rookie year, which is still below league average. Now he's shooting about league average, 36.4% on 7.3 attempts per game. Again, that's a significant amount of attempts per game. I bet you guys if he shot 4 or 5 threes a game instead of 7 threes a game, he would be an above league average 3-point shooter. The form is there. The shot creating ability is there. It's just kind of the shot attempts and the lack of open looks sometimes from him. But I'm so confident that by year 4 or 5, he's going to be a well above league average 3-point shooter. So his 2-point field goal percentage has always been very good. He's always been so elite from that 10-foot range, those floaters. He's such an explosive, high-jumping athlete. He can get around the rim. He's great at finishing around the rim, and he's great at dunking. So it went from 48.3% to 52.4% on 12 attempts a game from two-point land. Guys, that's elite. For a young guard to be shooting 52.4% from two is absolutely elite. That's an outlier, guys. So his rebounds per game went from 4.7 to 5.9 this year. Again, that's a well above average, borderline elite rebounder at the guard position. You don't see a lot of 6'4" guys in the NBA bringing down 6 rebounds a game. That's absolutely phenomenal. You're getting into Josh Hart territory of rebounding there. His assists went from 2.9 to 4.5 a game. And guys, in year 3, for a ball dominant player, a scorer, to be averaging 4.5 assists per game, I think that's slept on. I think that's really, really good for him. So you look at his points per game too. They went from 19 a game in college. Year 1, he had 19 a game, which to carry over your points per game from college to your first year in the NBA, in and of itself is an outlier and is very, very impressive. So again, he went from 19 points a game. He's averaging 24.9 points a game in his third year, 25 points per game. You look at his shooting splits, you look at his body of work, you watch the tape on Anthony Edwards, and you're like, how is this guy not the talk of the town? How is this guy not only a shoo-in for the All-Star game, but just this elite NBA talent that everyone can't stop talking about? Like, imagine rookie year LeBron was putting up these numbers, or year 3 Lonzo Ball was putting up these numbers. People would be absolutely freaking out. Even if LaMelo Ball was this good, people would be freaking out. Anthony Edwards is better than LaMelo Ball, but the media would tell you that LaMelo Ball is just in a different stratosphere in terms of a prospect, which is such BS. I want to talk about his defense to end this video. He talked about at the beginning of the year, I'm getting so disrespected on my defense. Not only have I been a good defender my first 2 years, and dating back to my Georgia days, dating back to my Atlanta days in high school, but guys, I'm going to show to you that I'm an elite defender right now in year 3, and he's absolutely been a phenomenal defender this year. He has all the tools in the world. Again, a shifty, jittery guy, 6'4", 225 pounds, who can jump out of the building. He's so strong. I mean, that just screams to me elite guard defender, and his defensive rating really reflects that. His defensive rating this year is 112.7. For reference, guys, in my opinion, the best guard perimeter defender in all of the NBA, and it's been this year for a couple years. You can argue a Marcus Smart. You can argue a guy like Derek White maybe for the Celtics as well. In my opinion, it's Drew Holiday. Through and through, I think Drew Holiday, if I want somebody to guard a Damian Lillard, a Steph Curry, I'm picking Drew Holiday. So Drew Holiday's defensive rating is 111 exactly. So Anthony Edwards, guys, he's right behind Drew Holiday in terms of guard defensive rating at 112.7. Absolutely phenomenal. He's in the upper tier, in the upper echelon of not only defensive rating for guards, but defensive rating for NBA players in general. And that's absolutely insane to think about when you look at defensive rating and you look at the list of players who lead that. It's guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez, big men, 7-footers, guys who are 6'8", 6'9", who have 1 through 4, 1 through 5 switchability. Anthony Edwards is a guard, and he's already in the upper echelon, in the upper tier of guys in terms of defensive perimeter, just attributes. One more point I wanted to make. Anthony Edwards' defense reminds me of, bear with me guys, a young career Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has a reputation for being one of the best defenders of all time. But in the 1980s, when Michael Jordan was putting up 38 points per game, going absolutely insane, having these incredible just kind of individual accolades and attributes, but never having the team success, always having a bad Poverty Bulls franchise around him, not having any other good scorers around him, not having any other good defenders around him. This reminds me of Anthony Edwards, guys, because Michael Jordan was an above league average defender in the 80s, but he wasn't the defender we knew him to be in the 90s. He really ascended once he got an elite talent alongside him, like Scottie Pippen, to guard the best player on the court. So Michael Jordan not only didn't have to guard the best guy on the court, but he could have a bit of a relaxation on the offensive end because you had Scottie Pippen putting up a lot of points as well. All it will take for Anthony Edwards to go from very good defender to elite All-NBA second team defensively, All-NBA first team defensively is another great guard defender to pair along with him. I love his defensive upside, and his offensive upside is already there. The most underrated All-Star in the last couple of years, Anthony Edwards.